Stalingrad, September 1942. Before dawn, the city breathes in smoke. A low fog drifts across the wide current of the Volga River, mixing with ash that falls like gray snow. The eastern bank is crowded with supply barges, wounded men, ammunition crates, and soldiers waiting for transport. Some stare silently at the western shore where the city stands, or rather, where it burns. Across the water lies Stalingrad. Once a proud industrial center of steel mills, grain elevators, oil tanks, and the massive tractor factory that had symbolized Soviet strength, it now appears broken, skeletal. Chimneys lean like snapped bones. Whole districts are flattened into smoking craters. What remains upright is scarred by shellfire, windows blown out, walls peeled open to the sky. The silence before sunrise lasts only seconds. Then the sirens begin. High above, dark specks emerge from the clouds, formations of bombers belonging to the Luftwaffe. Their engines rumble in synchronized menace. The sound grows from distant thunder into a shrieking mechanical storm. On the riverbank, a young Soviet private named Mikhail grips his rifle tighter. He is 19 years old. His boots are too large for him. His uniform smells of oil and river mud. He has never seen combat before yesterday. The first bombs fall. The earth convulses. Fire erupts in towering columns along the waterfront. Oil storage tanks ignite in a chain reaction, vomiting black smoke into the sky. The shockwave rolls across the Volga, rocking the boats violently. Men are thrown from their feet. A barge loaded with ammunition disappears in a flash of white light. Mikhail presses his face into the dirt as debris rains down. The air fills with dust so thick it is impossible to see more than a few meters ahead. Screams echo through the smoke. Somewhere nearby, a commissar shouts orders no one can hear. Across the river, the western districts of Stalingrad are being pulverized. Entire city blocks collapse inward as if swallowed by the earth. Rail lines twist. Tram cars burn in the streets. Civilian survivors run blindly between buildings that offer no protection. The bombing does not last minutes. It lasts hours. By mid-morning, the skyline has been reshaped entirely. The advance. Beyond the smoking outskirts, armored columns of the German 6th Army move steadily toward the city. Tanks roll across the steppe, crushing dry grass under steel tracks. Infantry ride on half-tracks and trucks coated in dust. Officers scan the horizon through binoculars, confident that the aerial bombardment has broken resistance. Their objective is simple in theory: seize Stalingrad, cut Soviet transport along the Volga, and secure the flank of the broader southern campaign ordered by Adolf Hitler. The city bearing Stalin's name is more than strategic, it is symbolic. Its capture would deliver a psychological blow to the Soviet Union and cement German dominance in the region. At the head of the 6th Army stands General Friedrich Paulus, a methodical planner thrust into a campaign that is already more brutal than anticipated. Reports from forward scouts suggest resistance remains in pockets, but nothing organized. That assumption will not survive the day. The crossing. Night falls before Mikhail is ordered to cross. The bombardment has slowed, though artillery still thunders intermittently. The Volga glows orange from the reflection of burning oil and factories. The smell is suffocating: smoke, metal, cordite, and something else that Mikhail tries not to identify. Small boats ferry reinforcements from the eastern bank to the ruins. They move without lights, relying on memory and instinct to navigate the currents. German artillery observers watch for movement. Every crossing risks annihilation. Mikhail climbs into a crowded wooden craft alongside 20 other men from the 62nd Army. Some are veterans. Most are not. Their commander speaks quietly but firmly. You land. You move forward. You do not step back. The boat pushes off. Midway across, a flare bursts overhead, turning night into blinding white. A shell screams down. It lands short, throwing a column of water into the air. The boat rocks violently. A second shell strikes another vessel behind them. There is a flash, then silence where shouting once was. Mikhail does not look back. They reach the western bank under gunfire. Men leap into waist-deep water and scramble onto mud slick with oil. Bullets snap overhead. A machine gun rattles from somewhere within the ruins. The city is no longer a city. It is a maze of shattered walls and burning beams. The ruins. At the edge of what was once a residential district, Mikhail sees his first dead German soldier. The body lies half buried in brick dust, helmet cracked, uniform torn. The sight feels unreal, proof that the enemy bleeds as he does. A sergeant grabs Mikhail's shoulder. Inside. Move! They enter a building that has lost its front wall entirely. Rooms are exposed like a dollhouse, furniture hanging over empty air. On the third floor, a sniper peers through a broken window frame. On the ground level, machine gunners position themselves behind piles of rubble. Fighting erupts without warning. German infantry push forward street by street, advancing cautiously behind tanks. Flamethrowers send arcs of fire into basements suspected of hiding defenders. Grenades bounce down stairwells before exploding in concussive blasts that shake the entire structure. The battle is not fought in lines. It is fought in meters. A single building changes hands 3 times in an afternoon. A kitchen becomes a strongpoint. A stairwell becomes a killing zone. Soldiers on opposite sides of a wall can hear each other breathing. This is the new warfare that General Vasily Chukov, commander of the 62nd Army, has embraced. Hold the enemy close, so close that German artillery and air power cannot be used without hitting their own men. Hug the enemy. Turn the ruins into a shield. The tractor factory. 2 days later, Mikhail's unit is sent north toward the massive Stalingrad tractor factory, once a symbol of Soviet industrial might, now a battlefield unto itself. The factory complex stretches across acres, its workshops large enough to house entire battalions. Assembly lines lie frozen mid-production. Half-finished tanks sit abandoned where workers left them when the bombing began. Now those same factory floors are defensive fortresses. German tanks push toward the main gates at dawn, their guns firing point-blank into the walls. Soviet anti-tank rifles answer from upper windows. The sound is deafening, metal striking metal, ricochets screaming through confined spaces. Mikhail takes position behind an overturned machine press. His hands no longer tremble. They are steady now, guided by instinct rather than thought. A German soldier bursts through a doorway 20 meters away. For a moment they lock eyes, both young, both terrified. Mikhail fires first. The man falls. There is no time to process it. Another appears. Then another. Smoke fills the workshop, mixing with dust from shattered concrete. Visibility shrinks to almost nothing. Men fight at distances so close that bayonets become necessary. Screams echo off iron beams. By nightfall, the factory floor is littered with bodies. The Germans hold one wing. The Soviets hold another. Between them lies a corridor of death no one dares cross. Civilians in the inferno. Not all who remain in Stalingrad wear uniforms. In the basement of a collapsed apartment block, a mother clutches 2 children as artillery shakes the foundation. Food has nearly run out. Water comes from melted ice chipped off pipes. The youngest child no longer cries. Exhaustion has stolen even that. Above them, soldiers trade gunfire through what used to be a living room. The civilians cannot flee. The river crossings are too dangerous. The roads are controlled by advancing German units. So they endure, existing in darkness while the world above disintegrates. Every explosion showers them with dust. Every lull brings hope that quickly dies with the next shell. German frustration. By mid-September, German commanders realize something is wrong. The city was supposed to fall quickly after the devastating aerial bombardment. Instead, resistance intensifies. The rubble, far from hindering defenders, provides endless defensive positions. Tanks struggle to maneuver in streets choked with debris. Supply lines stretch thin. Reports to headquarters grow more urgent. Casualties mount daily. Entire companies vanish in brutal close-quarters fighting. Yet orders remain unchanged. Take the city. At any cost. Night on the Volga. Another night. Another crossing. Reinforcements continue to arrive from the east bank, ferried across under constant threat. Some boats sink before reaching shore. Others drift downstream, riddled with bullets. On the western bank, Mikhail stands guard near the shoreline, now unrecognizable beneath layers of ash. He watches as fresh troops stumble from landing craft and run toward the front without orientation. Many will not survive their first hour. He understands now that this battle is different from anything before it. There is no rear. There is no safe zone. The front line shifts room by room, staircase by staircase. A building captured in the morning may be lost by night. Sleep comes in minutes, not hours. The Volga continues to flow behind them, indifferent and eternal. Closing image. At sunrise, the smoke briefly parts. For a fleeting moment, the broken city is visible in full, factories reduced to twisted frames, neighborhoods flattened into gray plains, isolated walls standing alone like gravestones. A German flag rises over one shattered administrative building. Minutes later, Soviet artillery knocks it down. The camera pulls back across the river, revealing the vastness of destruction. The entire western bank burns in scattered fires. Columns of smoke stretch miles into the sky. A narrator's voice cuts through the chaos. What began as a strategic objective has become a struggle of endurance. In the ruins of Stalingrad, two armies collide not for ground alone, but for survival, pride, and the future of a continent. Fade to black. September 1942. The battle for Stalingrad has only begun. October 1942, the city devours its armies. Dawn never truly arrives in Stalingrad anymore. The sun rises somewhere beyond the curtain of smoke, but its light filters down in a dim, copper haze. The city has become a landscape of shadows, broken walls jutting upward like teeth, staircases climbing to nowhere, entire streets erased beneath rubble. Fires burn unchecked in oil tanks along the riverfront, their flames reflected in the slow-moving waters of the Volga River. The men call it Rattenkrieg. Rat war. They fight in walls. Under floors. Through ceilings. No one owns the city. The city owns them. The grain elevator. The massive grain elevator near the southern district looms over the ruins like a wounded giant. Its concrete sides are pocked with shell holes. Its interior, once filled with harvest stores, is now a fortress manned by a handful of Soviet defenders from the 62nd Army. Inside, Mikhail crouches beside a window slit carved into the thick wall. For days, the defenders have held against repeated German assaults. Their water is nearly gone. Their ammunition dwindles. The grain that once fed thousands now lies burned or scattered across the floor, mixed with dust and blood. Through binoculars taken from a fallen officer, Mikhail sees German infantry forming up for another push. They advance cautiously, hugging walls, communicating with hand signals. Behind them, a tank rumbles forward, its cannon aimed at the upper floors. The first shell hits with a deafening crash. Concrete chips explode inward. The building shudders but does not fall. Machine guns open from both sides. Bullets strike sparks from stone. The Germans attempt to breach the lower entrance, hurling grenades into dark openings. Smoke fills the stairwell. Soviet defenders answer with Molotov cocktails that burst into sheets of flame. For hours the assault continues. By afternoon, the elevator is half destroyed. Floors have collapsed inward. Yet the defenders remain, firing from improvised positions. German soldiers fall in the open yard, their gray uniforms blending into ash-covered ground. When night finally comes, the Germans withdraw again. The grain elevator still stands. But barely. A sniper in the ruins. Several streets north, in the skeletal remains of a factory administrative building, a sniper settles into position. His name is Vasily. He has already earned quiet notoriety among the men for his patience and precision. From a shattered third-floor window, he surveys a crossroads where German troops frequently pass between strongpoints. He waits. And waits. Hours pass in stillness broken only by distant artillery. He studies patterns, which doorway officers favor, how long patrols pause at intersections, where machine gun teams reposition after firing. When a German lieutenant steps into the open to consult a map, Vasily exhales slowly. One shot. The officer drops. Chaos erupts below as soldiers scramble for cover. But the sniper does not fire again. He remains motionless, already fading into the rubble. Snipers on both sides become legends in whispers. Each claims dozens of kills. Each inspires fear disproportionate to their numbers. A single unseen rifle can halt an entire platoon's movement for hours. In Stalingrad, death often comes from a window frame. German headquarters. In a commandeered cellar west of the central district, officers of the 6th Army pore over maps illuminated by lantern light. General Friedrich Paulus studies casualty reports with mounting unease. Entire battalions have been reduced to fragments. Reinforcements arrive exhausted from weeks of marching across the steppe. Supplies must travel ever farther along vulnerable routes. Still, pressure from Berlin is relentless. Adolf Hitler demands progress. The city must fall. Paulus traces a line on the map with a gloved finger, the Volga shoreline. German forces now control much of the western city, but narrow corridors remain in Soviet hands, allowing fresh troops to cross nightly. Attempts to sever these final links have failed repeatedly. The problem is not territory. It is annihilation. The Soviets refuse to collapse. The Barrikady factory. Further north, the Barrikady artillery factory becomes another epicenter of violence. Its enormous workshops, filled with half-finished guns and shattered machinery, form a labyrinth that even seasoned soldiers struggle to navigate. Mikhail's unit is redeployed there after the grain elevator is finally abandoned. Of the original defenders, fewer than half survive. Inside the factory, combat unfolds at distances so close that rifles are slung in favor of knives and entrenching tools. German stormtroopers blast holes through walls to avoid exposed corridors. Soviet defenders respond by tunneling through debris to strike from behind. Ceilings collapse without warning. One moment, a squad holds a position behind a steel lathe. The next, artillery from outside brings the roof down, burying friend and foe alike. The noise never stops. Even in brief lulls, there is the constant crackle of fire, the groan of stress beams, the distant thunder of bombardment. Sleep becomes a memory. Food is scarce. Water tastes of rust and smoke. Yet neither side withdraws. Each meter gained costs dozens of lives. Civilians and ghosts. The civilian population that remains has become ghost-like. In underground shelters, families cling to survival amid starvation and disease. Some venture out at night to search for scraps among ruins, risking sniper fire for a crust of bread. Others assist the Red Army as medics, runners, or laborers clearing rubble for defensive positions. An elderly man refuses to leave the remains of his apartment, sitting daily in a broken doorway that overlooks nothing but destruction. When asked why he stays, he answers simply, "This is my home." The war has stripped away normalcy so completely that even despair feels routine. The Volga under fire. Every night, the crossing continues. German artillery observers track movement on the river relentlessly. Flares burst overhead. Machine guns rake the water's surface. Boats are struck and sink within seconds, dragging men beneath the current. Still they come. Replacements. Ammunition. Medical supplies. On one crossing, Mikhail helps pull a wounded comrade from a half-sunken craft. The man's leg is shattered. Blood mixes with river water. There is no morphine left. They carry him into a basement-turned-field hospital where overworked surgeons operate by lantern light. The wounded fill every corner, lying shoulder to shoulder. Some whisper prayers. Others call for mothers who cannot hear them. Outside, artillery shakes dust from the ceiling. The psychological toll. Weeks of continuous combat erode certainty. German soldiers who once expected swift victory now move through rubble with haunted expressions. Letters home speak of endless ruins and invisible enemies. Supplies grow irregular. Winter winds begin to sweep across the steppe, biting through thin autumn uniforms. Soviet soldiers fare no better physically, but they fight with the knowledge that retreat means the river, and beyond it, nothing. Political officers circulate among the ranks, reinforcing the message: Stalingrad must not fall. The city's name alone has transformed it into a symbol larger than strategy. A moment of stillness. One evening, amid the distant rumble of guns, snow begins to fall, light at first, then steady. It settles on broken bricks and twisted steel, softening the sharp outlines of devastation. For a brief moment, the city looks almost peaceful beneath a thin white shroud. Mikhail steps into what used to be a courtyard and tilts his face upward. Snowflakes land on soot-blackened skin, melting instantly. Across the street, a German soldier does the same, visible through a collapsed wall. They see one another. Neither raises a weapon. The moment passes. A machine gun bursts somewhere nearby, shattering the fragile calm. Both men disappear back into cover. Closing image. The camera pulls upward, revealing the full expanse of ruined Stalingrad. Factories shattered, neighborhoods erased, the Volga choked with ice forming along its edges. Front lines snake chaotically through the city, often separated by a single wall. A narrator speaks. By October 1942, Stalingrad is no longer a city. It is a battlefield measured in rooms and staircases. The German advance has slowed to a crawl, but the Red Army clings to the riverbank with desperate resolve. Both sides believe the other is near collapse. The snow thickens. In the distance, the thunder of artillery continues without pause. Fade to black. The battle tightens.